Hello, this is Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer.
Welcome home.
Soar into tower. We are ready for takeoff.
Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
Hey, it's Amy from DVC Clubhouse.
Hey Clubbers, it's Scott from DVC Clubhouse.
Hey, it's Kathleen from DVC Clubhouse.
Welcome aboard. It's Phil from DVC Clubhouse.
Hey, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Debrief Podcast brought to you by DVC Clubhouse. This is Amy, and I have Phil with me today. Hey, Phil.
Hey, long time no see.
Yeah, literally.
I did only see you briefly, though, so.
It's true. It was in passing.
I saw a lot of people in passing, and the best part is only a couple of them saw me.
You were being a creepy stalker.
No. They came into my space.
Oh, so it's their fault.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was only there. You were there for how long? A week?
Yeah, just over a week. I mean, if we count Friday, we took, I think, like a 5 or 5:30 flight out of here because we wanted the kids to get a full day of school rather than pull them out. So we were there technically late Friday night until the following Saturday morning. So in reality, we were actually on the ground for real for 7 days, but I think that it was actually like 8 days total. We were actually in our room hanging at the resort for a full day on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So yeah, 7 full days at the resort with a travel day on either side.
I was only there for 2 nights. And I think it was like exactly 48 hours. I think that I left the resort on Saturday at about the same time that I arrived on Thursday. And we talked about this not too long ago about how short
is too short and how long is too long.
Yeah, and this 48 hours felt way too short. I mean, I have had 48-hour trips that felt like, they're short. It's 2 nights, but they didn't feel quite so short. This one, I felt like I had just arrived when I was turning around to leave. And I felt like, I felt sad. This was, we ended up, I'll go through the trip because, the purpose of my visit was the DVC Clubhouse Spring Fling, a meetup that we do each year, which is it's only intended to be, drinks at a lounge for a couple of hours. But because the people who attend are people who are there, either on vacation or local, and we've all become friends, it doesn't turn out to be just the drinks. Like, we basically meet up many times. So those are kind of like the unofficial events, but they end up being, the trip ends up being spent with the friends from Clubhouse. So, but when I was saying goodbye to them on Saturday, I was the only one who was leaving. Everyone was, we had brunch at Wine Bar George at Disney Springs, and I had to leave directly from there to go back to Saratoga to head to the airport. And they were all going about their day, either going to a park or going back to their resorts. And I felt so sad. I was like, I feel like I just got here. And if the next day hadn't been Mother's Day, and if I didn't have a commitment to, do things for my mom, I may have been like, who has room for me?
Speaking of coming and going, is there anything more exciting and fulfilling than walking into your resort on that first night or that first day? And is there anything more viscerally disappointing than leaving your resort when you see people showing up with suitcases? I know they're probably great people, but God, do I hate them.
Yeah, when you arrive at your resort, like the excitement and the anticipation and the feeling of, oh my gosh, I'm here because you've just traveled too. I mean, I've probably been up early. I was up early. I had an 8 a.m. flight, so I was up early to get to the airport. And I stayed at Saratoga this trip. And Disney knows when you've touched down in Orlando because you immediately get the text that says, sorry, your room's not ready yet.
Yep.
And it's a tease because you are hoping that they're saying, welcome home, your room is ready. So I did not get that text. I got the text that said, welcome home, your room is being pixie dusted. So I got to Saratoga and I went to the front desk because I knew that, when you check in for Saratoga, you're able to specify what building you want. And so I had said that I was staying in a resort view or standard room or whatever the categories are at that resort at this time. And I requested the paddock and I requested an upper floor. And so I went to the desk and they said, well, the room that you requested is not ready yet. And so I said to them, I put that request in when I had been well rested and had a full night's sleep, and I have now had 4 hours of sleep. So I will take anything.
What have you got?
Yeah, because I just need to take a nap so badly. And so I felt like, the scene in Meet the Parents when Ben Stiller's at the airport and like the flight attendant is just like typing and typing and and it seems she's typing forever to see if there's a seat on the plane. That's how I felt. And then all of a sudden she said, oh, actually, a room on an upper floor in the paddock just became available. I can get you in there. And I was thrilled. So I walked over to my room, which was on the third floor of the paddock building that's right next to the pool. Like if you're on the bridge walking towards the paddock, it's the building to the left of the pool. But my room was the last room in the hallway right next to the staircase, like on the closest end to the pool, which was so great because I just could just scoot down those stairs in the morning to get coffee or to get breakfast. And I walked over there. I grabbed lunch from the paddock grill, and then I took a nap. And let me tell you, first of all, I don't know if this is resort wide, but the air conditioning at Saratoga is on point. My room it was hot. It was hot there.
It was warm that week.
And
it started chilly for us, but God, did it get warm in the end.
Yeah, it was hot and it got humid. It felt unseasonably hot. Like it feels like it could have been like early July with that weather. And so my room was frigid and it was amazing. But to answer your question, there's nothing more fulfilling than arriving at your resort and having your room ready in the location that you requested. And to be able to, I walked over with my bags and was able to just relax. Because that night I had plans to meet up with Carrie McPherson from DVC Resale Market. She and I met at my favorite place, the California Grill. We met at the lounge and we had some appetizers and some drinks. And I mean, I just cannot overstate how much I love it there. That is also very fulfilling for me every time I arrive there and I check in and I get there.
We were close to each other. I didn't realize you would come over to my side of property.
Yeah, I got there at about 4:30 so that I could get in line to make sure that we were able to get seats at the bar. And right at 5:00, I got the text that our seat was ready. There was a little bit of a debacle because, Carrie was driving over there. And since we didn't have a reservation, how they are, the Contemporary, about parking. But I said to her, let me check in, let me get my name in their system so that they see that I'm here. And so that happened. And I said, you should just park here because now I'm in the system. My name is in their reservation system. But I mentioned it to the cast member who was seating me then at, when I got the text, Carrie was not there yet. And I mentioned that I was going to have somebody joining me and that they were going to be parking. And I said, they should be able to park here, right? And she said, I'm not sure because since you were just added, I don't know if it's going to show up. But if there's any issue, just have them call down to the security gate and let them know to let her through. So I told her that. She texted me and she said, yeah, they're not letting me through. Can you have the manager come down, call down? And the manager did. I mean, the people at California Grill were great, but apparently the guard at the security gate was not very friendly, not very courteous, and basically told her, move, I don't take calls from managers. And so they made her leave, despite the fact that the manager of California Grill called down. And so then she had to drive and find parking. Yeah. And then take the monorail all the way around. So then she ended up not getting there until 6:00 because of, what an ordeal it is to park and then wait for the monorail and get around. So, but they felt so bad at California Grill, and the bartender comped her, a drink, and they were so apologetic, and they said, that shouldn't have happened. And, we'll, let the manager know that happened. So that was
terrible customer and guest service. Oh my gosh.
It was terrible. And Carrie, like, she's lovely, but for God's sake, she used to be a Walt Disney World ambassador, but she's not one to be like flaunty about any of that. And so she was just being polite and courteous, and the security guard wanted nothing to do with it. So, that was a shame. I felt bad because I told her to come to the Contemporary, which then ended up costing her time. But overall, our time at California Grill was really great. The food, of course, was excellent. The sushi there is delicious. And then when we were done, I went over and I met the rest of the crew, the Huffs, the Savinos, Patrice and Dewey over at River Roost, just because they were all there. They got there earlier. I think Bob started playing at 7:30. They were all there well before that. So I got there at about 9 and was there for a few hours, which is always a good time. And it's always, gosh, Patrice and Dewey stay at Riverside. They typically do a split stay. They'll spend a few nights at Riverside, and then they go over to Old Key West, which is where they own. But they love Riverside so much, and they love Bob, and they know everybody there who works there, and so they always have to stay there. And being there with them is always a great time too. So that was a lot of fun. And then I got to go back to my freezing cold room at Saratoga, which is also like pitch black, and the beds are so comfortable. I swear I slept better on this trip than I have in a long time. And no pets, crawling across me, no cats, no dogs.
Slightly, I stay at hotels all over the country all the time. I am constantly traveling, and I cannot sleep in hotels. The beds are not comfortable. Everybody's going to these feather pillows, which are absolutely terrible. I love Disney's beds. I love Disney's pillows. They get it absolutely positively right. They are, without a doubt, the most comfortable beds and pillows that I sleep on anywhere at any time on any trip, and I have a lot of places to choose from. They always win.
Absolutely. And it's the same thing with the cruise line too. Their beds and pillows are amazing. So it was like, honestly, I think that was like the best part of my trip was how well I slept, because life has been a little bit stressful lately, and to go there and just feel like I was getting a good night's sleep it's really nice to leave a vacation feeling refreshed. But the next day, you guys had talked up the gym at Saratoga so much, and I had never been there. So
it's glorious.
I went over. It is glorious. It is so big. It's so spacious. Like, nobody is in, you're not like competing for anything.
It's
for
huge.
Space.
It's well stocked. It's well equipped. It's always empty. Best gym on property, hands down. And there's some other really good gyms, but best gym on property, hands down.
It definitely is. And so I was thinking, and we've talked about this before about Saratoga, how, it used to be called the Resort of Last Resorts, and it's definitely moved up in ranking a little bit over the years. But I was thinking about because Saratoga is not for everyone. If you have little kids and you're going to be going into the park, or not even little kids, but just kids and you're going to be going into the parks a lot, it's definitely not that convenient because you have to bus, you have the internal bus loop. But there are certain things like if you are going to be, and I think because like a lot of DVC families do take it slow, you go so frequently, that resort really is a great place to stay if you're looking to do a combination of parks, but also just kind of have like a nice, relaxing family vacation. Because the two pools, well, they have more than two pools, but the two pools with the water slides, the main pool over by the springs, and then the paddock pool, those are great pools. So kids can have fun at those all day, every day. They have the Surrey bike rentals, which is fun for families. But then also it's great for if you are somebody who's there who knows that you want to go to the gym. It's a great resort for that. It's a great resort for, the proximity to Disney Springs, which, the next day, my last day, we we all met up at Wine Bar George for brunch, and just the ease of getting over there was so great. We could have walked or taken a boat. Emily from the group was also staying there, so she and I went over together. But it was so hot that morning, so humid. We decided to take the boat rather than walk, so we could stay in the shade. And the it was just so nice to be able to pop over there. And while, others were staying other places on property, they had to take the bus over to Disney Springs. And, the Savinos, like they missed their bus and then they couldn't get a ride share. So, I mean, there is something to be said. If being able to take advantage of Disney Springs is something that's important to you, then Saratoga is so great because it's almost like Disney Springs is like the downtown area of like if you were to live someplace and you were in walking distance to like the downtown, like that's what Saratoga is. It's like this is the downtown.
Go over to
neighborhood.
Celebration. It's the condos right next to downtown in Celebration. It's built along the same idea.
Exactly. And so it's just such a great, there's so much to that is so great about the resort. And now that they're going to be refurbishing the lounge and the restaurant, I really hope that they do something with that lounge, because right now it's just kind of extra space. I feel like it's spillover seating for people who can't get a seat for Artist Palette when they get their food. So I really hope that they make it a little bit more just like aesthetically pleasing, because right now it feels very like, I don't know, kind of like a forgotten room with some like leftover furniture or something.
I don't think we've ever sat over there. And I've said it before. Saratoga was always I guess we'll stay there if there's nothing else available. And I really think it gets that reputation because there's so many rooms. There is always something available. And I think people just think that means nobody wants to stay there. And we stayed there our first night because I needed a place to go before our other room opened up. And we hit the ground. Mackenzie was tired. Luke wanted to go over to the Springs, and we were staying right there at that end of Saratoga. And we just walked 5 minutes across the bridge and went into Disney Springs. And he did a little bit of shopping that he wanted to do. And we had promised my goddaughter we'd pick something up for her. And it's such a laid back, easygoing, beautiful resort. It is not even close to the resort of last resorts for me. I don't think, as you said, having kids who want to be in the parks a lot, I don't think it's our jam for that kind of long vacation. But with that being said, I'm never disappointed when I stay there. I think Saratoga has so much to offer that people just overlook. There's just something very homey and very comfortable and kind of upscale about it. I really like it.
And it just feels pleasant. I mean, look, there are definitely far more popular resorts because of the nostalgia or their proximity to parks, but they can be very chaotic. I mean, as much as I love Grand Floridian, it's, there's people everywhere all the time. That is not the case at Saratoga. It feels just so laid back and pleasant. Like you can truly relax there. So I just feel like that is a resort for people who are, probably annual pass holders, so that they are not trying to make the most of a 3-day ticket or something. They don't feel pressured to spend every moment in the park. and to just be able to go and feel like you are having a pleasant, relaxing vacation. So we've talked about it before, but having just stayed there for 2 nights, I did not feel disappointed that I was there at all. I never was like, oh, I wish I was staying over at Boardwalk. Yes, certainly the proximity to like our meetup on Friday night, would have been closer because we were at Beach Club. But, there was nothing, we were all over the place this weekend. So it didn't really matter where I was because we were at Riverside, we were at Beach Club, we went over to the next day to Disney Springs. So, I was thrilled. I loved being there. And and granted, I will say I did take rideshare to the majority of the places that I was going, which, if for people who don't want to have to deal with the buses and aren't willing to then I get it. You're paying a lot of money on your vacation. You don't want to be now like spending money to be going places when you can go for free. But for me, I was just like, it was hot and I just wanted the ease of like, especially what's so nice about when you stay at some place like Saratoga or like Old Key West is when you call a rideshare, they come right to your building.
They're right to the
So,
door. Yeah, my buddy
yeah.
Joe Quattrochi, everyone knows him as Saratoga Joe. He loves Saratoga, swears by Saratoga. That's his home resort, and he is loud and proud about it. But he says the same thing. Just they drive because they live on the other side of Florida. It's not that far away. Said it's great for a driving resort because you can pull right up outside your room. You can unload the car. They don't go parks heavy. He wants to go golfing. He wants to eat. He wants to go to the springs. He loves Saratoga. And, when we got dropped off that first night and picked up the next day, I didn't have to trek across floors, through elevators, across a property, through the lobby. We just stepped outside the door and there was our Uber right there. Or when we had the car take us from the airport, they just put us right in front of our building. It does make things a lot easier.
Yeah, and if you are a golfer, forget it. Like that's where you need to stay because you've got the pro shop right there. When you walk down the stairs from the Turf Club Lounge, like you start it's like this. The starting hole is like footsteps away. So, I think it is a great resort. But anyway, to stop singing the praises of Saratoga, that was that day. After I went to the gym and enjoyed that, and I hung out at the paddock pool for a while, which is a great pool. I love having the grill right there. I went over to the Allen Compass Lounge and I just got some lunch. They typically have like a seasonal flatbread on the menu. And the last several times I've been there, it has been like vegetable heavy. This time it was a French onion flatbread, which was delicious. It was kind of like it was like Gruyere cheese and it had some like roast beef on it and onions. It was so rich though. Like it was delicious. But after I ate it, I was like, oh my gosh, this was like so rich, especially for a hot day. But I love Allen Compass Lounge too. It was empty when I was there, and it's just I think that having the lounges as an option, I like when resorts have lounges that open at like around noon, so that you have an additional option between just like a sit down table service restaurant or a quick service to be able to like actually have somebody take your order. But like just order small plates. So like I'm a big fan of the lounges, and I wish that more of the lounges around property opened at noon and had food that you could order. But after that, we headed over to Martha's Vineyard because that doesn't open until 4, so we couldn't meet before that. But that was like what was supposed to be officially our clubhouse meetup was drinks at Martha's Vineyard. And just a fun little story was the night before at River Roost, there was a couple who have been DVC members since the beginning. They were like original Old Key West owners, and they were sitting at the table next to ours. And when I arrived, we had people from our group had already befriended them and invited them to come over to Beach Club, and they did. So they came over. Gail and George, our two members of Clubhouse, spent a lot of time with us and hung out with us at Beach Club. I don't know if you met them. They were like right behind.
They were, kind of right in front of me over the wall. Yeah, I didn't I was trying to keep moving. We all know how well I deal with those particular situations. So I was like, all right, Mackenzie was dying to come back over and see Scott because we had snuck by you guys on the way in. We had taken a car over to Beach Club because we had dinner that night at Beaches and Cream. And we kind of went by Martha's Vineyard, and I looked quickly over my shoulder and I could see where you guys were. And the kids saw you guys over there. And we know how Mackenzie is with Scott. So we got done with dinner at Beaches and Cream, and I was going to go right back to the park. And Mackenzie insisted on coming to see Scott. So I was trying to hurry her along, albeit unsuccessfully, because once those two get together, it's all over.
Well, George and Gail came and they were just a hoot. I mean, they fit in with the group amazingly. And I mean, it's just like, I feel like, and I know it's different for you. You and I have very different personalities, but for me, part of the fun now of being a DVC member for as long as I have been is that now I've made these friends that are from all over the country. I mean, we were there at Beaches at Martha's, and we have, I'm from New Jersey. Kathleen and Scott are now local, but they're from Ohio. The Gail and George are from Ohio. The Savinos are from from the Bay Area in California. Emily is from Seattle. So it's like all of us kind of converge upon, we're all DVC members. We kind of all converge upon Disney World from our various places. Jacqueline and Curtis are local too. So they were there as well. And it's just so fun because like everyone's there just to have fun. Everyone there just loves Disney. Kind of doesn't matter like what else is going on in your lives. Like you put it aside just to have fun. And it was a great time. And then we ended up leaving. There were so many different ideas about what we were going to do after we were at Martha's. Like there was talk about, some people were going to go into Epcot. Because I did not renew my annual pass, I did not have a park pass. So going into a park was not an option for me, but also it was just too hot. I wouldn't have wanted to do that anyway. But we talked about maybe going back to River Roost. We talked about going to do karaoke. And then we just ended up going to Bellevue and just sitting there and chatting all night long. And then the next day, we all met up again at Disney Springs for brunch at Wine Bar George. Because for as much as I love Wine Bar George and talk about how much I love it, I had never done brunch on the weekends there. And I'm so glad that I did because it was excellent. Absolutely delicious. And then I had to leave. And then I felt really sad about that. I had to take the sad boat ride all the way back to Saratoga and grab my bags and then go back to the Orlando International Airport. I feel a little bit like I had a little bit of like consolation knowing that in a few weeks I'm going to be at Disneyland and I'm going to, we're doing our Disneyland meetup in a few weeks. But in that moment, I just felt so like, God, they were all going off to continue to have fun. And I was going to go home to an empty house and my pets.
You're one ahead of me. We talked about it. This is the first time that I can remember in the last 10 years that we left property and I don't have plans booked to come back. And it's been a long, long time. I think the last time we left and did not. No, even on our first trip before we were DVC members, we had a bounce back booked before we left. This may be the first time as a family we have ever left and not had plans already in the books to come back. Now, with that said, there's a reason for that. It's that we can't make the plans that we want yet because Disneyland does not book packages out that far. But we always leave with the trip already booked to come back. So by the time I end that vacation, I have a countdown to the next one. There is not a countdown on my phone right now. So that really stings when you're leaving property and you're like, I don't have a countdown. That's not fun.
Yeah, that's sad. I remember because we used to tease ourselves that we wouldn't go every year. So when a trip would end, I would feel like sad not knowing when we were going to be back. And then of course, like a couple months later, we booked one, but it is sad. And I mean, and like I said, I was there for like probably 48 hours and I felt like I had just arrived and I was just feeling so relaxed. So, but it was great. And I love that I've made these great friends and I love that the people who come are like so invested and grateful for Clubhouse too. Like everyone is just really, it's just like, everyone's just fun. And we go and we just all enjoy being at Disney so much, which is really, why we all love it so much. And it's hard in your daily lives to necessarily find people who understand it. And when we do our meetups, it's like, these are like the people who get it. They are there as frequently as I am, if not more. And there's no, none of like this, the
We're not referring
sarcasm or the
specifically to the
snide.
Savinos, of course.
Right. Yeah. Because I mean, they already this year have been at Disneyland on a Disney cruise. They've been to Aulani. They're at Disney World. They're going to be back in Disneyland when I'm there.
Every time I go, I see them. It doesn't matter when I go. Like 2 years ago, I step out of my hotel room at the Polynesian, and there they are across the hall. In January, I'm there on business. I go into Connections, and there they are at Connections. This year, walking into Martha's Vineyard, there they are at Martha. They're always there. I don't think they actually go home.
And it's amazing because they live in California.
And they spend more time in Florida than most Floridians. It's kind of crazy.
Well, and you would think that they never go home, except then you see them in Disneyland too, if you're there. You're like, are you cloning yourselves? Is there's like versions of like Disneyland versions of you and Disney World versions of you? But it's
like
awesome.
How every time that I vacation, are you vacationing? I feel like I need to be you when I grow up.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. But yeah, so it was a lot of fun. And, our next, like I said, we're doing a Clubhouse meetup in Disneyland at the end of this month. And then our next Clubhouse, our next big event is our Clubhouse weekend, which is, the 3-night get together where we're actually, all of this love for Saratoga, we're doing our Grand Villa party at Saratoga Springs this year. So I'm really looking forward to that because for as much as, I can sing the praises of that resort, I've never been in a Grand Villa there. So I'm sure it's going to be spectacular. I've seen pictures and they look really beautiful. So I think that's going to be great. So I'm looking forward to that. I
can't wait to see the photos.
Yeah. Well, and what's fun is that this year, so typically we just get the Grand Villa for one night. Because there's so many points. But because Saratoga is a more affordable points chart, we decided that rather than, and because it's always disappointed, it's like you get into the Grand Villa at like 4 p.m. and then you have to be out by 11 the next day. So you use all of these points and you don't even get 24 hours in the darn thing. So this year we decided, myself, the Savinos, and the Huffs, that we were going to all contribute so that we can get 3 nights. We each are paying for a night of points so that we can stay there for 3 nights instead of just one night. And so we can really get the experience of staying in a Grand Villa, not just like throwing a party there and then leaving, which is what the experience has been for the past 3 years. So I'm really looking forward to that.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
For you guys.
Yes. It will be great fun.
I'll take your word for it.
So anyway, that's that.
All right, that wraps it up.
Yep.
All right, well, thank you everyone for playing along. If you could go to Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star review, that would be great, Amy.
And if you'd like to join us at these meetups and you're not a part of the group, join the Facebook group, DVC Clubhouse. That's where we publish, our event calendar. We're also on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And until next time, we'll DVC you real soon.
See you guys.
And so our journey comes to an end.
Oh, no, please, can't we go back to page 1 and do it all over again?
Started this thing together, and that's how we'll finish it.
Because that, my friends, is where the magic lives.